Hi, I'm Malika Bilal, and you're in the stream. Today in Sudan, a teenage girl is sentenced to hang for killing her alleged rapist. We'll hear more details about the case and speak to those trying to overturn her death penalty conviction. "19-year-old Noura Hussein has been sentenced to death for killing her husband after he allegedly raped her. Now, international groups, including the UN, are asking the Sudanese government to spare her life. Noura's story has generated outcry online and is being shared with the hashtag Justice for Noura and Save Noura. So today, we want to talk about Noura's case and the challenges Sudanese women and girls face while seeking justice for sexual violence. You can join our live conversation via YouTube or on Twitter at AJStream. Now, we reached out to the Sudanese government to join our program, but they said they could not comment on an ongoing court case. So with us on set is Mohammed Saifuddin, a lawyer who has been keeping in contact with Noura's legal team. He's also a member of the group Justice for Noura. In Nairobi, Natore Nyamu-Mathenge, a program officer with the group Equality Now. She is a human rights lawyer and an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Nahed Gabrallah is director of the Sudan-based SEMA Center for Training and Protection of Women and Child Rights. And in Kampala, Halal Karib, a Sudanese activist for women's rights. She is a regional director of the Strategic Initiative for Women in the Horn of Africa. Welcome to the stream, everyone. I want to start here on set. Mohammed, you pitched this show to us on Instagram, actually. When did you first hear of Noura's story, and what was it that made you decide to get involved with her campaign?
Well, thank you for having us. I've heard of Noura's story when it came through some of our members here in D.C. It was brought to our attention from someone in Sudan. And then we found that the act was unconscionable because we have sisters and nieces and nephews, and we wanted to make sure that this is the last straw, and we wanted to shed light on the issue so it doesn't happen to someone else. So that's why we pitched the show, and we just wanted to shed light on it and make sure that it doesn't happen to anyone else.
So as we mentioned, this story, of course, has made waves internationally, and which is why we're talking about it here in Washington, D.C.,
Yes.
and the hashtag has gone all over the world. But for those who aren't as aware of the details of Noura's case,
Yes.
give us a brief explanation on what happened and how we got to where we are today.
Indeed. So Noura was 16 years old when she was betrothed to a man that she was not interested in, and she refused, went away to stay with her aunt, and then when she turned 19, she was told to come back and that the marriage was off, only to find out that the marriage has been arranged, and she was forced into the marriage against her will. When she refused to consummate the marriage with her alleged husband, she was forced with the help of allegedly some of his family members. When he tried to have intercourse with her again the following day, she defended herself and the man passed away. And therefore, she was turned into the authorities, a trial was held, and she was convicted of murder for defending herself. So it's a tough situation that she found herself in, and it's a breaking, really it breaks a lot of people's hearts to hear something like that, that a woman doesn't have the opportunity or the ability to protect herself or integrity of her body.
Nahed, one of the things I found most striking about this case is that she was forced into marriage at 16 and decided she didn't want that. So she went into hiding. She ran away from home. This is a tweet we got from someone else who found that striking as well. Wafat says, most girls in smaller villages do not realize that they have the opportunity to choose the age of marriage, nor the person. So people are making note of the fact that she wasn't even in a big city. She wasn't in Khartoum, the capital. She was in a village and decided this wasn't the life she wanted for herself. What was it that you found most striking about her story?
The most striking thing that she defended herself. Noura is one of 37% of girls and women in Sudan who got married before the age of 18. And it is important to mention here that the age of marriage in Sudan is only 10, according to Article 4 of the Sudan Family Law 1991. So it is a legal marriage to get married at this age. But what is absent here is the acceptance,
Actually, if I could
is the
jump
consent.
in about the legality of the age of the marriage. While the Sudanese law does say 10, there's a conflict within the law itself because Sudan is a member of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which Article 6 says that the age of marriage is 18, but it also requires full consent. So by Sudan becoming a member of that particular commission, that law automatically becomes part of Sudan, unless obviously sometimes there is some...
You mean the African Commission?
Yes.
Actually, Sudan had a reservation on the article that ban marriage of children in the African Charter. And this is very important. Correct. That Sudan is contradicting its stance, not with the international and regional human rights document, but even with the Constitution.
Correct.
And now we have this contradiction. Sudan has a reservation on this article in the African Charter, and of course, the age of marriage is contradicting with the Sudanese child law in itself. When we say it is a legal age, we base on the law, but it is not the age that respect and in harmony with the human rights Sudan obligations, the other human rights Sudan obligations like the CRC, the Child Act, and it is important that even with this bad law, the absence of consent is an important issue that put important point that this marriage is not legal according to the Sudanese laws. The other thing, when she is not refusing only the man, Noura, and I heard this from her personally, her stand is not only against the man. She was refusing the issue of marriage. She insists to continue her education, and that is why she is kept away. And it is important also here to mention she escaped only for 2 days, not for 3 years. I met Noura, so there is some confusion in the common stories that now people are telling.
I think you raised a good point here. While these international and conventions are very important, the reservation is really a point that a lot of these countries make, and therefore the conventions themselves become meaningless. That's why there needs to be a movement from within the country inside, and I think that's what the group Justice for Noura is trying to do, taking the narrative back to Sudanese community itself, and the change is coming from the bottom up. That's what we're going to.
Hold that thought, because first of all, Nahed, thank you so much for clarifying on the amount of time that she was away from home, because I think there is a lot of misinformation out there, and because you have talked to her yourself, you are a valuable asset to this conversation. I wanted to just pause us there before we get too deep into the legal aspects of this case to remind us about some of the things that happened that led to this. So this is a tweet we got from William. William, unfortunately, is not alone. There are several people who are saying what William is saying. He says, this is sad, but what actions did she take to denounce this act before taking away a human life? A lot of people are saying she committed a crime here. Noura, I want to bring you in here with this, because I know your organization is advising the legal team, Noura's legal team. What are they doing about this sentiment? Because people in Sudan are saying this as well. Noura?
Exactly. What people are not looking at is the prevailing circumstances that led to this situation. Noura had clearly said that she doesn't want to get married. She was forced into it. And even to make matters worse, her rights were further violated. She was pinned down by the male members of her husband's family, and they raped her. And she resisted this several times. And she kept on saying that she doesn't want to be in this marriage. And even my biggest question is, can we even call this a marriage? Because I don't think it's a marriage in the first place. She was forced into it. She did not consent into it. And over again, she was very clear on what her stand was. So this is a nullity, in my opinion, that this marriage never took place. And that's why we cannot even talk about marital rape. This was outright rape. And also, there's also the element of gang rape when male members of her husband's family come and pin her down. That's a very heinous crime. And as Equality Now, one of the things that we are calling on is a dropping of all criminal charges against Noura, because Noura is not a criminal. she is a victim.
Someone who would agree with you, Wafat here, and I hear you, Hala, and I'll go to you with this. Wafat here would agree. She says, I would love to see this as a movement for child marriage, women's oppression, and women's rights. We are all Noura. What did you want to add to that, Hala?
What I would like to add is the whole situation that happens to Noura, her victimization, and the fact that she got into this situation is due to the discriminatory nature of Sudan legal system, which has this tendency, whether it's a family, it's a personal status law, or if it's Sudan criminal act. Both of them they have this tendency to criminalize and to fundamentally discriminate against women. And what Nahid has said in terms of the family law and the whole issue of the age of child marriage and as of the age of 10, and then the whole issue of the fact that the Sudanese family law is still enforcing the concepts on and the practice of guardianship. That means the girls can be represented by the male guardians of her family. All these factors together enabled this situation to happen and put Noura in this critical situation. And I definitely agree with Notori. I think it's absolutely 100% a self-defense case. It was very clear. The amendment in the Sudan Criminal Act that took place in January 2015 speaks clearly to that, that if you are put in a position or in a status, where you are exposed to rape, regardless of you are married to the person or not, you have to defend yourself. You are not to be criminalized for that act. But fundamentally, if there is no actual change, that is going to happen within Sudan Criminal Act and Sudan Personal Status Law. This type of situation and victimization, not only of Noura, but also of the deceased, of the man who tried to force her to marry him.
So I hear what you're saying. I hear what all our guests are saying, and yet, I just want to bring this up because this is an opposing view, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it. But this is Purist on Twitter. Okay. He says a husband cannot rape a wife. That is an actual fact. We got several tweets like that. I just pulled out one because I'm trying to spare us all. So this is one person's perspective. This is a response we got on Twitter. Hamid, I'll share this with you. This is Ala, and this is what he told the stream.
Let's make something clear. Marital rape is rape. I don't understand why it is considered as a much lesser crime than rape by a stranger, for example, just because it's committed by the husband. Noura Hussein from Sudan was forced to have sex with her husband many times with the assistance of his family, meaning she was raped. It does not matter if she was raped by her husband, by a stranger, by a friend. It is called rape. It doesn't matter if...
So why does a case like this even exist? What's the legal framework that allows marital rape to exist?
Well, the legal frame, there's a discussion whether it is a religious one or is a cultural one. Well, let me tell you straight ahead that it's not a religious one. There are many fatwas out there that exclusively say consent is absolutely required for marriage. So it's not a religious one. What's happening in Sudan, because Sudan history, there is this mixture of religion and culture, but I think it's also a political philosophy that's implemented in the law. Now, with the changes that happened in 2015, it was changed. The definition was changed. It was broadened out from exclusively, between. It now changed where it says that intercourse without consent is rape regardless of the relationship. So actually, when I spoke with Noura's lawyers just last night, this issue was brought up, and I think they did make that argument during the trial, but it didn't work. So I think there needs to be.
Can I say something, Mohammed, here?
Sure.
I think the problem lies in the definition of marriage within Sudan personal status law.
Well, I think it's a vague one. The amendment of 2015, it's a vague one.
I'm talking about those who are actually saying that marital rape does not exist. That the husband has a right, to have sex with his wife at any point of time, whether she consented to that or not. I think that actually, it's generated based on the definition of marriage, in Sudan personal status law, which speaks, clearly says, that it narrows the definition of marriage into the fact that, marriage is allowing a man to enjoy, having sex with his wife. That's it. So the whole
it has to be consensual. So I think the issue of consent.
Noura's been trying to jump in here for a minute. Noura, go ahead.
Okay.
But yes, I really beg to differ. In cases of human rights, where do we draw our inspiration from? We draw it from international standards, from international human rights instruments. Sudan is a state party to various international instruments, including the African Charter on the Rights and the Welfare of the Child. It has made reservations, but on such cases, that's where we should anchor such issues. And
I disagree,
just because the domestic law...
I get your point, and I agree with you. I think that's generally the norm. We want Sudan to accept the international norms, and that's what we're pushing for. But we have to deal with the reality of the case where we are and the issues in Sudan themselves and the people in the ground. Now, just let me give you an example here. Assume that the government intervenes here. What we might revert to this tribalism, blood for blood thing. So I think it's important to be mindful of the other people involved in the case and how Sudan operates internally. So when we have these international organizations that don't fully understand the culture of how it may impact the culture internally, I think that's a bit irresponsible. Yeah. While we agree that it's not right, it shouldn't happen, we have to be mindful of that. Also, there's still a chance of reconciliation within the family.
My disagreement. Let me disagree.
So one moment. I hear the disagreement. I hear the disagreement. I want Hala just to finish up her point. Hala, finish up your point, and then I'll hear from you, Noura. Okay. Go ahead, Hala.
All right.
Listen to it's not blind. Human rights has to take into consideration the context, where the human rights frameworks have been applied. And Sudan is a predominantly Muslim country, and there is majority of Muslim countries around the world who actually manage to reform their legal framework based on moderate and based on.
Let me interject here because
finish her point. Faith is okay. Actually, I'm going to jump in here. Hala, I hear your point there, and I love the enthusiasm and the passion here. You mentioned religious framework. I want to play a video comment from a religious leader here in the U.S., but he is of Sudanese descent, Sudanese background. He's from Sudan. This is Imam Mohammed Majid, and here's what he told this stream.
Marriage in Islam is a very important contract that people sign, and everyone should enter this marriage contract voluntarily. When I hear about somebody being forced to get married and then be violated by being forced to consummate the marriage, I really not get upset only, but I think that the community around them should not accept that, get upset as well. Because in Islam, there's no compulsion in anything. And therefore, that every young lady that hearing this should understand from Islamic perspective, a woman have a full right to reject any proposal her parents were given her.
So you heard that. You heard that perspective there. I promised Noura I would get. I promised Noura I would go to her. Noura, go ahead.
Malika.
Yes, exactly. I just want to correct something. We are not in disregard of the laws of the Republic of Sudan. We are not.
No, the laws need to change. So let's
hear her. Let's hear her. Go ahead.
Let me finish.
The law has to be changed. Sorry, you misunderstood me.
When we are looking at the legal reforms, we cannot keep on referring to what to the laws that are retrogressive. We have to draw inspiration from elsewhere. Even in the appeal that is going on, of course, the laws that will be used are the laws in the Republic of Sudan. That's what abiding. But that does not make us not to look at other international laws.
Absolutely,
and other
I agree with you.
That happen in other countries.
Hala is shaking her head here. Mohammed says he agrees. Hala is shaking her head, but I want us to all remember why we're all here. Just one moment. I want us to remember why we're here. And this is a person who's sitting in prison. She's not even 20 yet and is sitting in a Sudanese prison because she was allegedly raped twice by the person that she didn't want to marry. So I want us to remember her. We're talking about the laws, and that's really important when we talk about whether or not there can be legal reform. But I want to take it back to her just for a second, because there's this change.org petition. And I'll go to you with this, Nahed. Justice for Noura. It has nearly 1 million signatures, and it was started by someone of Sudanese descent, but someone who is in France. So clearly there is worldwide appeal. It's also reached some pretty high-profile figures. This is Naomi Campbell, the supermodel. She says, I, Naomi Campbell, urge the Sudanese government to pardon rape victim Noura Hussein and show the world that women who are brutally raped are the real victims. Nahed, you've spoken to her. Does she know about the international campaign to free her? And what does she think of it? How is her mental state right now?
Yeah, but before coming to this point, I would like to mention that what happened to Noura is worse than the laws, because the law, Sudanese law, is openly said that the consent is the corner of the right merit. So the problem is not only with the laws, is knowledge about the rights, about the laws, and the other thing is the law enforcement people. Is the person Noura didn't get the right legal aid. Yeah, it is important that what happened to Noura is actually, even with Sudanese law, is illegal. What happened to Noura is injustice, even with these bad Sudanese laws. And it is very important that regarding self-defense, Noura is a young, brave woman. And she's very strong, and she's sad. And I think I met her many times, but it's important. I met her before the sentence. And of course, after the court decision, she knew that the sentence will be death penalty. And a lot of people played role in preparing her for this sentence, and it is not the last, the end of the end, and that we will continue supporting her. When she came to the court, she was strong, and even she was smiling, and the strength was in her face. After the sentence, when I met her in the prison, she was shackled. It was very shocking for me finding her walking in these heavy chains. The sound of the chains is actually reflecting strong and bad message about her suffering. But she still was strong. She knew about the support.
Thank you for that. It's good to hear that she can see this hashtag has a place for it. I wanted to bring in this comment we just got on YouTube. Misty Knight says, if they execute her, they are saying that women have no rights and have nowhere to turn when their rights are violated. Mohammed, what are her legal options right now?
Okay.
About a minute left.
Right, so legal option, there can be reconciliation between the family and Noura, and then the appeal. Once the appeal happens, there are several options. The court can overturn the sentence, they can send it back to the trial court, or they can accept the original conviction, and then her lawyers would appeal to the Supreme Court, and I spoke with them yesterday. They're willing to do that. Just an important point that I wanted to bring up with respect to the pardoning power. I spoke with the lawyer yesterday, and he said that the president in this particular circumstances cannot pardon Noura. So her only options are either the family reconciliation or the court itself. So that's why it's very important to be sensitive to the culture, not just the law, so that Noura can have justice and have the chance to get out of the situation that she's in. But again, the lawyers tell me that the pardon power does not fall with the president within this particular circumstances, which is a very important point to bring to the international attention.
But when you talk about...
You sparked something there, and this is a conversation that, of course, this is not the end of it. I'm so sorry, ladies. And Mohammed, I'm sorry to have to end us there. It's all the time that we have for this part of the conversation. It can continue online. #8JStream and #Justice for Noura. I'll end with this tweet from Mary, who says, thank you for bringing awareness. I was drawn deeply to Noura's plight. I had to act, and we held a support rally for her. My 12-year-old is very concerned and is worried about Noura. Please do all you can to help people connect and make a difference. And that's coming to us from Salt Lake City, Utah. Thanks for being with us. you.